I'm Morgan Thompson, 34, and 5 years ago, I was on track to revolutionize textile design with my sustainable fabric techniques. That was before my sister Amanda stole my entire portfolio, designs I'd spent years perfecting. I lost everything in one day. My reputation, my career, my confidence, all gone while Amanda became famous using my work. I never thought I'd recover until her son Noah found my original sketchbooks hidden in their attic. "And Morgan," he asked, confusion etched across his 15-year-old face, "why does Mom's famous collection have your handwriting?" Before I share how everything unraveled, let me know where you're watching from in the comments and subscribe if you want more stories about family betrayal and how sometimes justice arrives in unexpected ways. Growing up in Portland, I always had fabric scraps and colored pencils scattered across my bedroom floor. My fingers would be stained with dye as I experimented with natural pigments from plants in our backyard. My parents called it my creative chaos, but they never truly understood my passion. From the age of 7, I knew I wanted to design textiles. Amanda was 2 years older and as different from me as cotton is from silk. While I was quiet and absorbed in my sketchbooks, she commanded attention in every room. She was louder, more sociable, and incredibly persuasive. Our parents often praised her confidence, suggesting I should be more like Amanda. This dynamic created a foundation of competition that would shape our relationship for decades. "Morgan, why don't you go to that party with your sister?" my mother would say. "Amanda knows how to make connections. You could learn from her." What my parents didn't see was how my sister would glance at my designs with narrowed eyes when they weren't looking. They didn't notice how she would casually take credit for ideas we came up with together when they were solely mine. Small betrayals that I brushed aside because, well, that's what sisters do, right? Despite our differences, I excelled in art throughout school. My portfolio earned me a full scholarship to the Rhode Island School of Design, while Amanda chose a business degree at Boston University. I thought the separation would be good for us, give us space to develop our own identities. But during my sophomore year, Amanda suddenly transferred to Parsons School of Design in New York. "Design is my passion too," she declared when I expressed surprise during a holiday break. "I've always been creative. You're not the only artistic one in the family." Our parents were thrilled. Now both our girls are following their dreams, they said, not noticing how Amanda's new passion had materialized overnight. I tried to be supportive. I shared my textbooks, introduced her to my design friends when she visited, and sent her tutorials I found helpful. But Amanda struggled with the technical aspects of design. Her work lacked originality, often resembling watered-down versions of trends already passing through the industry. After graduation, I landed an assistant position at Meridian Design, a boutique textile studio in Manhattan known for innovative, sustainable practices. My mentor, Eleanor Winters, was a legend in the industry. Her fabrics had been used by top fashion houses for decades. "You have something special, Morgan," Eleanor told me after reviewing my portfolio. "Your understanding of how fibers interact with natural dyes is intuitive. I haven't seen this kind of innovation in years." Under Eleanor's guidance, I flourished. Within 2 years, I was heading my own small team, developing fabrics that used 30% less water in production while maintaining vibrant colors and durability. My patterns, intricate botanical designs that revealed different elements under various lighting, caught the attention of several luxury brands. Meanwhile, Amanda bounced between entry-level positions, never staying more than 6 months at any company. During our weekly phone calls, her frustration was palpable. "They don't recognize talent," she complained after another job ended. "The creative director is so basic. They rejected all my best ideas." I sympathized with her struggles. Breaking into the design world wasn't easy, and I felt guilty about my relative success. So when Amanda called asking for design advice for her portfolio, I spent hours helping her, sending sketches and technique suggestions. "You're so good at this, Morgan," she would say. "I wish I had your talent. Mom and Dad always said you were the creative genius." Her flattery worked. I felt needed, important, the successful sister helping the struggling one. Our parents reinforced this dynamic during every family gathering. Morgan, your sister really looks up to you, my father said during Thanksgiving dinner. It's wonderful how you help her. By my 28th birthday, I had developed a revolutionary technique combining organic cotton with recycled synthetic fibers that created a fabric with the comfort of natural materials but the performance of technical textiles. The patterns I designed specifically for this fabric featured overlapping butterfly motifs that seemed to take flight when the material moved. Meridian arranged a presentation with executives from Latitude Luxury, a major fashion brand looking to launch a sustainable line. This was my chance to truly make my mark on the industry. The meeting was scheduled for April 15th. A date I had circled in red on my calendar and mentioned repeatedly to everyone, including Amanda. The weekend before the presentation, Amanda visited my apartment in Brooklyn. She seemed genuinely interested in my work, asking detailed questions about my process. For once, it felt like we were connecting as equals, as sisters who shared a passion. "Show me everything," she said, eyes wide with what I interpreted as admiration. "I want to understand how you think." Feeling vulnerable and seeking validation, I spread my entire portfolio across my living room floor. Original sketches, fabric samples, technical notes, everything. I explained each design element, each innovative technique. "This is the centerpiece," I said, carefully unfolding the butterfly pattern. "The way the fibers interact creates this illusion of movement. It took me over a year to perfect." Amanda examined everything closely, taking photos for inspiration. Looking back, I should have seen the signs. Our questions focused on suppliers, production methods, contact names. But I was blinded by the rare feeling of my sister's approval. "You're brilliant, Morgan," she said as she helped me pack everything back into my portfolio case. "This presentation will change your life." She wasn't wrong. During dinner that night, Amanda raised her glass in a toast. "To my talented sister," she said. "Tomorrow I'm meeting with a small boutique brand. I hope someday I'll create something half as amazing as what you've done." I smiled, touched by her words. Our parents, visiting for the weekend, beamed with pride. "Both are girls, making their way in the design world," my mother said. "Though Morgan, don't forget to help your sister whenever you can. Amanda has always struggled more with the creative side." I nodded, used to this familiar refrain. Later that night, as Amanda prepared to leave, she hugged me tightly. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "You deserve all the success coming your way." Those words would haunt me in the days to come. The night before my presentation, I developed a severe case of food poisoning. By 3 a.m, I was curled around my bathroom toilet, stomach heaving, too weak to even reach my phone on the bedside table. When morning light filtered through the window, I managed to drag myself back to bed and call Eleanor. "I'm really sick," I croaked, "but I'll make it to the presentation somehow." "Morgan, you sound terrible," Eleanor said, concern evident in her voice. "The meeting isn't until 2. Rest for now, and we'll reassess at noon." I nodded weakly, then remembered she couldn't see me. "Okay," I mumbled before hanging up. An hour later, my phone rang. It was Amanda. "Hey sis, just checking in before your big day." I explained my situation, barely able to speak without my stomach churning. "That's terrible timing. Is there anything I can do to help?" she asked, voice full of concern. In my fevered state, her offer seemed like a lifeline. "Could you grab my portfolio from the office? It's on my desk. I might still make the presentation if this passes, but I need those materials." "Of course. I'll head there right now and bring everything to you. Just rest." I thanked her profusely, giving her the security code to the building and directions to my desk. "The receptionist knows you're my sister. Just tell her I sent you. Don't worry about anything. I've got you covered," Amanda assured me before hanging up. I fell into a fitful sleep, waking around noon feeling marginally better. Weak but determined, I showered and dressed in my presentation outfit. When Amanda hadn't arrived with my portfolio by 12:30, I called her. No answer. I tried again. Straight to voicemail. Panic rising, I called the office. "Hi Jessica, it's Morgan. Did my sister pick up my portfolio?" Yes, she was here around 9 this morning. Our receptionist confirmed. She said you were sick and needed your materials at home. Thanks, I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite my growing unease. I called Amanda again. Nothing. With no time to spare, I grabbed a folder with some backup prints, not my complete presentation but better than nothing, and took a taxi to Latitude's headquarters, arriving just before 2. The receptionist directed me to the 4th-floor conference room. As I approached, I heard a familiar voice through the partially open door. The innovative aspect of this design is how the butterfly motifs create an illusion of movement. My blood turned to ice. That was Amanda's voice. My sister was giving my presentation. I pushed the door open. 8 people sat around a large table, all focused on Amanda, who stood confidently beside a display of my fabrics, my designs, my work. Amanda? My voice came out as a strangled whisper. Everyone turned. Eleanor's expression shifted from confusion to concern. Amanda's eyes widened momentarily before her face hardened into something I'd never seen before. Morgan, she said coolly. What are you doing here? I thought you were too sick to come. What am I doing here? What are you doing with my portfolio? I stepped closer, reaching for the fabric sample in her hand, my butterfly design. Amanda stepped back, clutching my work to her chest. This is my presentation. My work. Your work. I looked frantically at Eleanor. Eleanor, these are my designs. The ones we've been developing for months. Tell them. Eleanor's brow furrowed. Morgan, calm down. Amanda came in early this morning explaining you were too ill to present. She said you two had been collaborating on this collection, with her taking lead on the design elements while you focused on the technical aspects. Collaborating? I felt like I was in some bizarre nightmare. No, that's not true. These are completely my designs. My techniques. My presentation. As I reached for another fabric sample, Amanda's demeanor changed dramatically. Her eyes flashed with anger as she pointed at me. She's a fraud, she shouted, making everyone at the table jump. She's always been jealous of me. I've been developing these concepts for over 2 years. What? Amanda, how can you say that? These are MY designs. I was practically screaming now, unable to process what was happening. Amanda turned to the executives, her voice suddenly calm and professional. I'm so sorry about this. My sister has issues. She's been struggling since I got this opportunity. We've had similar design interests, but she's taking it too far. Similar interests? You switched to design because of me. You've been struggling for years while I've been developing these exact patterns at Meridian. I turned to Eleanor desperately. Tell them. You've watched me create these from scratch. Eleanor looked uncomfortable. Morgan, perhaps we should discuss this privately. Amanda opened a folder, pulling out what looked like early sketches of my butterfly pattern. But the dates were wrong. They show development beginning 3 years earlier, not just 1 year ago when I actually started them. I have all the original concept work, Amanda said, spreading the papers across the table. Dated and witnessed. Plus emails with manufacturers from last year discussing production possibilities. I stared at the documents in horror. The sketches looked like mine, but with subtle differences and earlier dates. The emails showed correspondence about similar fabric concepts, but I'd never seen them before. Those are fake, I whispered, the room starting to spin around me. She's lying. The Latitude executives exchanged uncomfortable glances. One of them, a woman with a sleek gray bob, cleared her throat. Perhaps we should reschedule until this situation is clarified. There's nothing to clarify, Amanda said firmly. I understand if you need time to process this disruption. I apologize on behalf of my family. As the executives filed out, I stood frozen, unable to comprehend how quickly my life was imploding. Eleanor touched my arm gently. Morgan, let's go back to the office and sort this out. The walk back to Meridian was a blur. In Eleanor's office, I tried desperately to explain, showing her the backup prints I'd brought, pointing out technical elements only I could have developed. These fiber combinations were my innovation, I insisted. Amanda doesn't even understand the chemical processes involved. Eleanor sighed heavily. Morgan, I want to believe you. But Amanda has documentation going back years. She showed me design school projects with similar motifs. And those emails with manufacturers. They must be fake. Check the metadata, the digital signatures. Please, Eleanor, I've worked with you for 4 years. You know me. I thought I did, she said quietly. But the evidence is compelling. And your behavior today, it was unprofessional at best. My hands shook as I realized what was happening. You're taking her side? I'm not taking sides. But Meridian can't be associated with a potential intellectual property dispute. The board feels it would be best if you took a leave of absence while this is sorted out. Leave of absence? My voice cracked. You're firing me? Not firing. Just stepping back until there's clarity. We'll need you to leave your access card and clear out your desk today. Security watched as I packed my personal items into a cardboard box, colleagues staring and whispering. As I walked toward the elevator, I saw Amanda emerging from a meeting room with Eleanor and 2 board members. Our eyes met, and for a fleeting moment, her mask slipped. The corner of her mouth turned up in a cold smile of triumph. That smile told me everything. This wasn't opportunistic theft. This was planned, calculated, deliberate. Amanda, how could you do this? I asked as she passed. She leaned close, voice low so only I could hear. You always had it so easy, Morgan. The natural talent. The praise. Now it's my turn. Security guided me to the lobby as I fought back tears. The last thing I saw before the doors closed was Amanda watching me leave, clutching my butterfly designs in her hands. The next few weeks passed in a nightmarish blur. I consulted 3 different attorneys, all of whom gave me the same verdict after reviewing Amanda's fabricated evidence. It would be my word against hers, and she had documents that appeared legitimate. Without concrete proof that her materials were falsified, a legal battle would be expensive, lengthy, and potentially futile. But they're my designs, I repeated to the last lawyer, a woman with kind eyes and a pragmatic demeanor. I believe you, she said gently. But belief doesn't win court cases. Evidence does. And right now, your sister has created a paper trail that makes her case look stronger. Meanwhile, Amanda's career skyrocketed. Latitude Luxury signed her to develop an exclusive, sustainable collection. Fashion blogs buzzed about the innovative new designer with her revolutionary butterfly patterns. Within a month, she was featured in Vogue as design's newest sustainability star. I couldn't escape her. Every industry newsletter, every design magazine, every social media platform showcased Amanda Thompson's groundbreaking work. Work that I had created with my own hands. The industry blacklisting happened silently but thoroughly. My applications to other design houses went unanswered. Former colleagues stopped returning my calls. I discovered Amanda had been sharing her version of events widely, painting me as unstable, jealous, and desperate to steal her success. My savings dwindled rapidly. New York rent didn't care about my personal tragedy. After 3 months of unemployment, I sold my Brooklyn apartment at a loss and retreated to a small town in Vermont where nobody knew my name or my shame. The spiral into depression was swift and merciless. Panic attacks struck without warning in the grocery store during job interviews while attempting to sketch new designs. The betrayal consumed me, replaying in my mind like a horror film on endless loop. I found work at a local coffee shop called Brewed Awakening. The owner, an elderly man named Frank, didn't ask questions when I applied with an abbreviated resume that omitted my design career. The pay barely covered rent on my tiny 1-bedroom house, but it was something. You're overqualified, Frank had said when hiring me. But I get the feeling you need some peace. He was right. I needed peace from the constant reminders of what I'd lost. But there was no escaping Amanda's growing fame. 6 months after the theft, her first full collection launched to critical acclaim. Amanda Thompson's Butterfly Effect, read the headlines, showcasing fabrics and patterns that had once been my future. The worst moment came when a customer walked into the coffee shop wearing a scarf from Amanda's collection. My butterfly pattern wrapped around her neck, the familiar swirls and colors like a taunt. I dropped an entire tray of mugs and spent my tip money replacing them. For months, I couldn't bring myself to draw or design. My sketchbooks remained packed away, too painful to open. The idea of creating anything new felt pointless. What if it too was stolen? My confidence was shattered, my identity as a designer erased. Nearly a year after the incident, I hit rock bottom. A particularly harsh Vermont winter had frozen pipes in my rental house, leading to expensive repairs. My car needed new brakes. The coffee shop reduced hours during the slow season. I was 3 weeks behind on rent with eviction looming. That night, huddled under blankets in the unheated house, I finally broke. I sobbed until my throat was raw, unleashing the anger, betrayal, and grief I'd been suppressing. When there were no tears left, I sat in the stillness, emotionally empty but somehow lighter. In that empty space, a tiny spark of defiance ignited. Amanda had taken my past work, but she couldn't take my creativity, the source of those designs. That belonged solely to me. The next morning, I dug out a sketchbook from the moving box I'd never unpacked. My hands trembled as I opened it, expecting another wave of pain. Instead, I felt a faint stirring of the passion that had once defined me. I began to draw. Not elaborate designs for production, just simple patterns. Fractals, geometric shapes, nature-inspired swirls. The act of creating, even privately, felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. A new determination formed. I would document everything. Every sketch, every idea, every experiment. I developed a rigorous system, dating each page, photographing work in progress, having my coffee shop colleague Diane sign as witness to creation dates. I installed security cameras in my small home office and backed up all digital files to multiple secured locations. I was meticulous to the point of paranoia, but it gave me control I desperately needed. While Amanda continued enjoying the spotlight with my stolen work, I quietly rebuilt my creative practice from scratch. Financial stability remained elusive. I applied for a position at Riverside Fabrics, a small local textile shop, hoping to at least work in adjacent industry. The interview went well until the owner suddenly stiffened. "Wait, Morgan Thompson? From Meridian Design in New York." Her expression changed from friendly to guarded. "I heard about you." I knew immediately what she'd heard. "Whatever you heard isn't the full story," I started to explain. She cut me off with a raised hand. "I don't get involved in industry drama, but I can't risk my business reputation." Another door closed. I left with burning cheeks and renewed determination to document everything. If opportunity ever knocked again, I would be prepared with irrefutable evidence of my work. To further protect myself, I changed my appearance. Gone were my signature long dark curls, replaced by a short blonde bob. I switched from distinctive vintage clothing to nondescript jeans and sweaters. I became intentionally forgettable, just another barista in a small Vermont town. At night, I continued creating, building a collection that reflected my evolution as a designer. These weren't just textile patterns, but expressions of my journey, themes of theft, disguise, revelation, and rebirth woven into the very fibers of my work. I stored everything in my attic: original sketches, fabric samples, dated journals, development photos. A physical record of my creative resurrection that no one could question or steal. The collection became my secret sanctuary, proof that I still existed as a designer, even if the world no longer recognized me as one. During this time, I followed Amanda's career obsessively. After 2 successful collections based on my stolen work, her output slowed. The innovative edge that had catapulted her to fame, my edge, was dulling. Design blogs noted that her newer pieces lacked the revolutionary quality of her earlier work. Thompson's latest collection feels derivative of her breakthrough designs, one critic wrote. Perhaps the sustainable textile wunderkind is running out of fresh ideas. I wasn't surprised. Amanda had always been skilled at marketing and presentation but struggled with true innovation. She had exhausted my stolen concepts and couldn't generate comparable replacements. One day, after nearly 3 years in Vermont, I attempted to contact Eleanor. I had compiled irrefutable evidence of my original work, dated sketches, material samples, process documentation, all meticulously preserved. I sent a carefully worded email with select evidence attached, not accusing, but simply presenting facts. Her response was brief and dismissive. "Morgan, I hope you're well. While I appreciate your passion, this matter was resolved years ago. Amanda's work has spoken for itself in the marketplace. I wish you the best in your future endeavors." The rejection stung, but I was no longer the devastated woman who had been escorted from Meridian's offices. I continued my dual life, coffee shop barista by day, dedicated designer by night, building a body of work that reflected both my technical skill and emotional journey. I began selling small items featuring my new designs at local craft fairs under the name Morgan Designs. Nothing that would attract industry attention, just handmade scarves and fabric accessories. It was painful when customers occasionally mentioned how my patterns reminded them of that famous designer with the butterflies, but I smiled and thanked them for the compliment. This was my life now, smaller than I had dreamed, but mine nonetheless. The wound of Amanda's betrayal had scarred over, still visible, but no longer bleeding. I was surviving, creating, rebuilding one sketch at a time. Little did I know that Amanda's teenage son would soon unravel everything she had so carefully stolen. 5 years after Amanda stole my career, I had established a precarious new normal. The coffee shop job provided stability, and I had gradually expanded my creative work under the radar. I created an online persona, Design Anonymous, offering freelance textile design services for small independent brands. The work was modest, but allowed me to exercise my skills while maintaining anonymity. My breakthrough came unexpectedly through Lauren Parker, a customer at the local art supply store where I frequently purchase materials. She noticed me meticulously comparing fabric swatches and struck up a conversation. "You really know your textiles," she commented, watching me examine weave patterns with a magnifying glass. I tensed, wary of questions about my background. "Just a hobby," I replied, attempting to end the conversation. Lauren smiled knowingly. "That's no hobby. Those are the eyes of someone who understands fabric on a molecular level." Something about her direct, unpretentious manner disarmed me. We ended up having coffee, where I revealed pieces of my story, carefully edited to avoid mentioning Amanda or the full extent of the theft. "I used to work in textile design in New York," I admitted. It didn't end well. Lauren, I discovered, was a former fashion editor who had relocated to Vermont to open a small gallery showcasing local artisans. She became my first real friend since the move, someone who understood the industry, but existed outside my painful past. "You should show me your work sometime," she suggested during one of our regular coffee meetings. No pressure, but I have a good eye for talent. After weeks of hesitation, I invited her to my house. With trembling hands, I showed her select pieces from my current collection, not the documentation of stolen work, but my new creative direction. Lauren studied each piece silently, occasionally nodding or touching a fabric with appreciative fingers. When she finally looked up, her eyes were bright with excitement. "Morgan, this is extraordinary. The way you've integrated traditional techniques with these innovative fiber combinations, it's unlike anything I've seen." Her validation brought tears to my eyes. "Thank you," I whispered. "It's been a long time since anyone in the industry has seen my work." "Whatever happened in New York was their loss," Lauren declared firmly. "These designs deserve to be seen." With Lauren's encouragement, I began creating more deliberately, developing a distinctive style that evolved naturally from my earlier work. The new patterns incorporated elements of concealment and revelation, images that changed depending on viewing angle, colors that shifted under different lighting, layers that revealed deeper patterns when moved. "Your work has such emotional depth now," Lauren observed. "There's narrative woven into these patterns." She was right. Each design told part of my story. The betrayal, the loss, the rebuilding. Creating them was both cathartic and empowering. Throughout this period, I continued monitoring Amanda's career from afar. Industry publications and social media provided glimpses of her increasingly desperate attempts to maintain relevance. Her collections, after exhausting my stolen concepts, received lukewarm reviews. Critics noted her creative plateau and questioned whether she had been a one-trick designer. The fashion world's short attention span was turning elsewhere while Amanda struggled to produce truly original work. Her Instagram posts showed increasingly lavish lifestyle elements, a Manhattan penthouse, vacation homes, private jets, as if compensating for diminishing creative respect with displays of commercial success. One evening, scrolling through design news, I discovered Amanda had announced a retrospective collection, revisiting her groundbreaking early innovations. She was recycling my stolen designs with minor modifications, unable to generate comparable new work. "She's running on empty," Lauren commented when I showed her the announcement. Creative people who don't actually create eventually hit this wall. Though vindication provided some satisfaction, I remained cautious. I continued my meticulous documentation habits, keeping detailed records of every design stage, date-stamped and notarized. My attic space gradually filled with this evidence, physical proof of my creative journey. In my 4th year in Vermont, I attempted once more to contact Eleanor, sending a carefully worded email with concrete evidence of the timeline discrepancy in Amanda's story. Her response was colder than before. "Morgan, this persistent fixation is concerning. Amanda's work has been authenticated by industry experts and stands on its own merits. Further communications regarding this matter will be directed to Meridian's legal department." The dismissal hurt, but I had expected it. Eleanor had staked her professional reputation on Amanda's success. Admitting a mistake of this magnitude would damage her standing in the industry. Despite this setback, I continued building my collection and documentation. By the 5th anniversary of the theft, my attic contained overwhelming evidence of both my original stolen work and my new creative direction, all meticulously dated, witnessed, and preserved. My new designs sold modestly at local craft fairs and through my anonymous online presence. The painful irony came when customers occasionally held up my handcrafted scarves and said, "This reminds me of Amanda Thompson's work. Are you inspired by her?" I would smile tightly and respond, "We share some influences," while internally screaming that she had been inspired by me, or more accurately, had stolen from me. These moments reinforced my determination to maintain comprehensive records. Though I had no immediate plan for confrontation, I needed to know the truth was preserved somewhere, even if only in my attic. My dual existence continued, public anonymity and private creativity, until an unexpected phone call disrupted everything I had carefully rebuilt. On a crisp October morning, my phone rang with an unfamiliar New York number. I nearly declined the call, assuming it was a marketing solicitation. Something made me answer. "Morgan? It's Amanda." My hand tightened around the phone. In 5 years, we hadn't spoken a single word. Our parents had given up trying to mediate the misunderstanding between us, especially after I refused to attend family gatherings where Amanda would be present. "What do you want?" My voice came out steadier than I expected. "I need a favor." The familiar, entitled tone hadn't changed. "I'm dealing with a PR situation, and Noah needs somewhere to stay this weekend. He's 15 now, can you believe it? He can travel alone, and I thought, you want me to watch your son?" I interrupted, incredulous. "After everything?" There was a pause. "Look, Morgan, I know we've had our differences." "Differences? You stole my career, Amanda. My life's work. That's ancient history. I'm in a bind, and Noah asked about you recently. He barely remembers his Aunt Morgan." The manipulation was typical Amanda, framing her request as beneficial to me, an opportunity to reconnect with my nephew. Yet beneath my anger, I felt a pull of curiosity about Noah. I had only seen him through social media glimpses over the years, growing from a toddler to a teenager. "Why can't he stay with Mom and Dad?" I asked. "They're on that European cruise, remember?" "Please, Morgan. It's just 3 days. The PR team needs me focused on damage control." "Damage control for what?" Amanda sighed. "Some blogger questioning the sustainability claims of my newest collection. Nothing serious, but it needs handling without distractions." After a long pause, I agreed. Not for Amanda, but for Noah, an innocent party in his mother's deception. I gave her my address, and we arranged for Noah to arrive Friday afternoon. When I hung up, I stood motionless in my kitchen, processing what had just happened. After years of silence, Amanda had casually reached out as if she hadn't destroyed my career. The audacity was breathtaking. I spent the next 2 days preparing the spare room and wrestling with conflicting emotions. Part of me wanted to show Noah evidence of his mother's theft to expose Amanda's fraudulence. But he was a child who loved his mother. Such a revelation would hurt him more than her. Noah arrived on a regional flight Friday afternoon. I barely recognized the lanky teenager who stepped off the plane, so different from the toddler I remembered. He had Amanda's confident posture, but gentler eyes. "Aunt Morgan," he asked tentatively. "That's me," I replied, offering an awkward hug. "Welcome to Vermont." The drive home was filled with stilted small talk. Noah mentioned school, friends, and his interest in photography. I asked safe questions about his hobbies, avoiding any mention of Amanda or design. "Mom says you used to work in textiles too," he said as we pulled into my driveway. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Yes, a long time ago."
"Cool."
"She doesn't really talk about you much. Just says you prefer being alone." I showed Noah around my modest house, watching his eyes take in the simple furnishings, so different from the luxury he was accustomed to in Amanda's Manhattan penthouse. "It's small but comfortable," I said, feeling strangely defensive. "It's nice," he replied with surprising sincerity. "Feels like someone actually lives here." Our apartment looks like a magazine spread that no one's allowed to touch. That night, I prepared dinner while Noah played games on his phone. The silence between us was awkward, but not hostile. He was polite, helping set the table without being asked and complimenting my cooking. Saturday morning, I needed to work a short shift at the coffee shop. "You'll be okay here for a few hours? There's food in the fridge and Wi-Fi password is on the counter." Noah nodded, already absorbed in his phone. "No problem. I'm good at entertaining myself." When I returned 4 hours later, the house was quiet. "Noah," I called, setting down my purse. No answer. A flash of panic hit me. Had he left? Run away? Called Amanda with complaints? I checked the guest room. Empty. The kitchen and living room too. Then I noticed the small pull-down attic door was slightly ajar. Climbing the ladder, I emerged into my storage space to find Noah sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by open sketchbooks and fabric samples. My heart froze. He was looking through my evidence collection, the chronological documentation of my original designs that Amanda had stolen.
"Noah."
"What are you doing up here?" My voice came out sharper than intended. He looked up, startled, but not guilty. "Sorry, I was exploring and found all these amazing designs." He held up one of my original butterfly pattern sketchbooks. "This is incredible. It looks exactly like Mom's famous collection, but..." He turned to the front page where I'd written the date. "This is from 3 years before she launched it." I stood frozen, unsure how to respond. This was exactly the scenario I'd wanted to avoid, putting Noah in the middle of an ugly truth. "I was just looking for a place to read and found the attic," he continued when I didn't speak. I didn't mean to snoop, but when I saw the designs, I was curious. He traced a finger over the butterfly wing pattern. "The handwriting is different too. This isn't Mom's writing style." Noah, words failed me. How do you tell a child his mother built her career on theft? He looked up at me, his expression surprisingly mature. "These are yours, aren't they? You created the butterfly collection." The direct question demanded truth. I nodded slowly.
"Yes."
"I designed those patterns while working at Meridian Design." Noah was quiet for a long moment, processing. "But Mom always talks about how she developed that technique over years of experimentation." "That's what she claims," I said carefully. He flipped through more pages, examining dates, notes, and progressive development sketches. His face grew increasingly troubled. "There's so much detail here. Process notes, material tests, everything." He looked up, confusion evident. "If you created these, why does everyone think Mom did?" This was the moment I could poison Noah against his mother with the full, ugly truth. Instead, I sat down beside him, choosing my words with care. Your mom and I had a disagreement about the origin of these designs. I had been developing them for a presentation to Latitude Luxury. I got sick the day of the meeting, and somehow Amanda ended up presenting them as her own work. She took credit for your designs? Noah's voice was small. That's my perspective, yes. She tells a different story. Noah continued examining the materials in silence. He picked up a fabric sample with an early version of the butterfly pattern, rubbing it between his fingers. I've seen this exact sample in Mom's studio. She keeps it framed as her first breakthrough piece. He set it down carefully. But the handwriting on the notes is yours, not hers. I know her handwriting. Noah, this is complicated adult stuff. I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable position. He shook his head. I'm not a little kid, Aunt Morgan. I can see what's here. He gestured to the organized documentation around us. These are dated years before Mom's collection launched. The development process is all documented. The handwriting is consistent throughout, but doesn't match hers. His analytical approach surprised me. No emotional outburst, just careful observation and logical deduction. I wondered if he had suspected something about his mother's character before this discovery. Can I take photos of some of this? He asked suddenly. Why? I asked, alarmed. For myself. To compare. I need to understand what really happened. Against my better judgment, I nodded. Noah carefully photographed select pages, fabric samples, and dated sketches. We spent the next hour going through my documentation together, with me explaining the development process of the sustainable fabric technique that had accompanied the designs. You really understand the technical side, Noah observed. Mom always gets frustrated when people ask detailed questions about the production methods. She says designers should focus on design, not manufacturing details. That sounded exactly like Amanda, dismissing what she didn't understand. As we packed everything back into its organized storage, Noah asked quietly, Why didn't you fight harder? Take legal action or something? I tried. Amanda had created backdated documentation that made it look like she'd been developing these concepts for years. She had manufactured evidence, altered emails, revised sketches. Without proof of tampering, it was her word against mine. And she had powerful people believing her version. Noah absorbed this with a troubled expression. That's really messed up. I agreed simply. That evening, Noah was quieter, more thoughtful. He asked careful questions about my current design work, my life in Vermont, how I'd rebuilt after leaving New York. I answered honestly, but avoided disparaging Amanda directly. Sunday morning, as I drove him to the airport, Noah finally spoke about what he'd discovered. I need to figure some things out, Aunt Morgan. About Mom, about what really happened. Noah, she's still your mother. She loves you. I know. But that doesn't make what she did right. He stared out the window at the passing Vermont landscape. I've always felt there was something performed about her success stories, like she was reciting lines from someone else's play. At the departure gate, Noah hugged me tightly. Thanks for not lying to me and for not trying to turn me against Mom. A lot of adults would have. I watched him walk through security, wondering what he would do with his new knowledge and feeling a strange mixture of dread and hope. 2 weeks later, my phone rang with Amanda's number. What did you tell Noah? She demanded without preamble, her voice shaking with fury. Hello to you too, Amanda. Don't play games, Morgan. He's been asking questions about my butterfly collection, comparing handwriting samples, demanding to see my original development work. What did you say to him? I didn't need to say anything. He found my documentation in the attic and drew his own conclusions. There was a long silence. You set this up. You knew he would find that stuff. Actually, no. But I won't lie to your son about what happened. He's a child. He doesn't understand the nuances of creative development and industry collaboration. I laughed bitterly. Collaboration? Is that what you call theft now? I will sue you for defamation if you continue spreading these lies. Amanda's voice had risen to a shout. Document everything, Amanda. That's what I've learned to do. Noah has seen the evidence, the real evidence, not your fabricated version. He's a smart kid. He can recognize truth when he sees it. She switched tactics, her voice suddenly pleading. Morgan, he's my son. Are you really going to turn him against me out of spite? I didn't turn him against you. I simply showed him dated, documented evidence when he asked questions. What he does with that information is his choice. After I hung up, I sat in silence, processing the shift in dynamics. For 5 years, Amanda had controlled the narrative. Now, truth was emerging through an unexpected ally, her own son. That evening, I received a text from Noah. Mom's freaking out. She called you? Yes, I replied. She's upset. I asked to see her original butterfly sketches. She couldn't find them, claimed they were archived with a design preservation service. I smiled sadly at the transparent excuse. What will you do now? His response came after a long pause. Keep asking questions. I deserve to know the truth about who my mother really is. The weeks following Noah's visit brought an escalating series of calls and texts from Amanda. Her approach cycled between threats, emotional manipulation, and occasional attempts at reconciliation, always with the underlying demand that I fix things with Noah. He won't stop investigating, she complained during one call. He's comparing fabric samples, questioning my studio assistants about development processes. It's undermining my authority in my own household. I remained calm despite her growing hysteria. Have you considered telling him the truth? What truth? Your delusional version of events? I built this career through talent and hard work. And theft, I added quietly. Amanda's voice turned venomous. I will destroy what's left of your reputation if you don't make this right. I'll sue you for everything you have. Go ahead. I've spent 5 years documenting every aspect of my work, before and after your theft. I have nothing to hide. 3 days later, Noah called me from his father's house where he was spending the weekend. His parents had divorced when he was 7, and his father, Michael, had remained largely in the background of Noah's life. I showed Dad the photos I took of your documentation, Noah said without preamble. He believes you. This surprised me. Michael had never intervened during the original theft, maintaining that it was between you sisters despite having witnessed my early career development. He said he always had doubts about Mom's sudden breakthrough, Noah continued. Especially since he remembered her complaining for years that she couldn't develop original concepts that satisfied manufacturers. Noah explained that his father had encouraged him to continue his investigation, even suggesting he speak with his mother's former assistants. Dad says Mom's always been creative with the truth, but he never thought she'd go this far. The following week, Noah arranged to meet me in a cafe halfway between Vermont and New York. He arrived with a folder thick with evidence he'd gathered. Mom's first assistant confirmed it, he said, sliding a notarized statement across the table. Jenna worked with Mom during the launch of the butterfly collection. She says Mom appeared with complete designs and technical specifications overnight, despite having nothing viable the previous week. She always thought it was suspicious but needed the job. I reviewed the statement, impressed by Noah's thoroughness. You've been busy. I also found these. He produced printouts of emails between Amanda and various manufacturers dated shortly after my presentation date. Mom claimed she'd been working with these factories for months, but these are clearly initial inquiry emails. They reference your new designs and looking forward to discussing production possibilities. Lauren joined us for this meeting at my request, providing both emotional support and an objective industry perspective. She examined everything Noah had collected. This is compelling, she said. The timeline inconsistencies alone raise serious questions about Amanda's claims. Noah nodded. I confronted Mom with some of this. She completely lost it, screaming, throwing things. Then she locked herself in her studio for hours. When she came out, she acted like nothing had happened and tried to convince me I was confused about how the design process works. I felt a surge of protective concern. Noah, you don't have to do this. This fight has always been between Amanda and me. He shook his head firmly.
No, Aunt Morgan.
This is about integrity. About truth. I need to know who my mother really is. The confrontation built gradually over the following month. Noah continued collecting evidence, including statements from former Meridian colleagues who had witnessed my development of the butterfly collection. Meanwhile, Lauren introduced me to Catherine Daniels, owner of Visionary Designs, a respected sustainable textile company with growing influence in the industry. Your work is extraordinary, Catherine said after reviewing my current portfolio. The technical innovation alone sets you apart, but there's also a distinctive artistic voice. It tells a story. When I hesitantly explained my history with Amanda, Catherine didn't immediately dismiss me, as others had. Instead, she asked detailed questions about documentation, development processes, and timeline. The industry has whispered about Amanda Thompson for years, she confided. Brilliant launches followed by diminishing returns. It's a pattern we've seen before with designers who appropriate others' work. With Catherine's encouragement, I began assembling a comprehensive case file, not just of the original theft but of Amanda's pattern of borrowing elements from my ongoing work. Noah contributed crucial evidence from inside Amanda's studio, including design boards that showed clear evolution from my stolen concepts with minimal original input. She's planning another retrospective collection, Noah reported. It's basically your original designs with minor color variations. She's desperate for a hit. The last 2 collections underperformed. Catherine arranged a meeting with influential industry figures to review our evidence, textile experts, sustainable manufacturing specialists, and fashion journalists known for their integrity. The gathering would take place during New York's Sustainable Design Week, when the industry would be focused on innovation and authenticity. When Amanda learned of the planned meeting through industry channels, she called me in a panic. "What do you think you're doing?" she demanded. "These people are my colleagues, my supporters. I'm presenting evidence of my work and its development timeline," I replied calmly. "If you've been truthful about your creative process, you have nothing to worry about. This is about Noah, isn't it? You've poisoned my son against me." Noah made his own decisions based on evidence he discovered himself. The night before the industry panel, Noah called with alarming news. "Mom found out I've been helping you. She's destroying evidence, burning sketchbooks, deleting files. She told her assistant to shred all the early butterfly collection documentation." "Did she get everything?" I asked, heart racing.
No.
"I made copies of everything important months ago."
And
He hesitated. "I may have borrowed some key original pieces from her archives for a school project." I couldn't help smiling at his foresight. "You're remarkably resourceful, Noah." "I learned from watching Mom operate for 15 years, he said with a hint of sadness. "I just never thought I'd need to use those skills against her." The industry panel meeting was held in Catherine's elegant Manhattan showroom. I arrived early, stomach knotted with anxiety. 5 years of exile and preparation had led to this moment. Lauren squeezed my hand reassuringly. "Whatever happens, you've reclaimed your voice. That already makes you the winner." 12 industry leaders assembled to review our evidence. I presented first, methodically walking through the development timeline of the butterfly collection with comprehensive documentation, dated sketches, material tests, technical notes, witness statements, and manufacturing inquiries. Catherine had arranged for textile experts to examine both my original samples and pieces from Amanda's collections. Their analysis confirmed identical construction methods and design elements, with evidence supporting my earlier development date. As questions from the panel began, the showroom door burst open. Amanda strode in, impeccably dressed, but with panic evident beneath her polished exterior. "This is a setup," she announced to the room. "My sister has been obsessed with discrediting me for years due to her own failures. This so-called evidence is fabricated." The panel chair, a respected sustainable fashion advocate named Diana, regarded Amanda coolly. "Miss Thompson, we've invited you repeatedly to present your side. You've declined until now. Because this is beneath response. I've proven my work in the marketplace for years." "Commercial success doesn't establish provenance," Diana replied. "We're examining specific technical and design elements that appear identical between your breakthrough collection and your sister's documented earlier work." Amanda's composure began cracking. Creative influence is complex. We grew up together, obviously shared aesthetic sensibilities. The butterfly's structural pattern is identical down to the microscopic fiber arrangement, interjected a textile engineer. That's not shared aesthetic. That's identical technique. Amanda switched tactics, voice softening. Morgan and I collaborated extensively. She's conveniently forgotten our partnership because my expression of our shared concepts found success. I have 5 years of documented evidence showing no collaboration. I responded quietly. You have manufactured backdated materials with inconsistent handwriting and production notes that demonstrate limited understanding of the technical processes involved. The room's attention shifted as Noah entered carrying a leather portfolio. Amanda's face paled. Noah, what are you doing here? This doesn't concern you. It does concern me, he replied steadily. You built your career on lies. I've lived in a house furnished by someone else's work. How dare you speak to me that way? I'm your mother. Noah placed the portfolio on the conference table. These are original concept sketches Mom kept in her private safe. Note the dates, all after Aunt Morgan's presentation at Meridian. Also note the handwriting analysis I commissioned comparing these notes to Mom's known handwriting and Aunt Morgan's. As panel members examined the new evidence, Amanda's control finally shattered.
Feeney.
You want the truth? Morgan was always the talented one, the creative genius. Our parents never stopped reminding me how I should be more like her. When she got sick before that presentation, I saw my chance and I took it. The room fell silent at this accidental confession. Amanda continued, words tumbling out. She would have wasted those designs at Meridian, becoming just another corporate designer. I built an empire with them. I made them famous. You stole my work, I said quietly. You took my career, my reputation, my future. You let me be humiliated and blacklisted. Amanda turned to the panel, desperation evident. This was years ago. Are you really going to destroy an established brand over ancient history? Diana exchanged glances with the other panel members. Miss Thompson, the evidence is unequivocal. The designs and techniques you've claimed as your innovation were clearly developed by Morgan Thompson prior to your presentation. The documentation is comprehensive and verified. This will destroy everything I've built. You built it on theft, Noah said softly. That's the problem, Mom. The industry statement released the following day was measured but devastating. After thorough review of substantial evidence, serious questions have been raised regarding the provenance of Amanda Thompson's breakthrough designs. Technical analysis confirms development predating her claimed timeline, with significant evidence supporting Morgan Thompson as the original creator of these innovative techniques and patterns. No direct accusations of theft, but the implication was clear. Within hours, Amanda's primary manufacturers announced they were reassessing their partnership. Latitude Luxury, still her biggest client, released a statement about their commitment to ethical design practices and ongoing investigation into recent revelations. The fashion media, always hungry for scandal, descended en masse. The designer who had built her reputation taking credit for her sister's work made irresistible headlines. Amanda's carefully constructed empire began crumbling under the weight of truth. Catherine called me as the news broke across industry publications. Are you ready for what comes next? The industry will have questions for you too. I took a deep breath.
Yes.
For the first time in 5 years, I'm ready to design under my own name again. The industry statement ignited a firestorm that consumed Amanda's career with stunning speed. Major retailers pulled her collections pending ethical review. Latitude Luxury terminated their contract, citing irreconcilable concerns regarding design authenticity. Fashion publications that had once celebrated her genius now published retrospectives questioning how no one had spotted the obvious technical inconsistencies in her career narrative. I watched from a distance, feeling neither joy nor vindication, only a complex mixture of relief, sadness, and lingering anger. 5 years of my career had been stolen, time I could never recover. 3 weeks after the panel's findings, Catherine called with an unexpected offer. "I'd like you to join Visionary Designs as our creative director," she said. "Your technical innovations in sustainable textiles align perfectly with our mission, and frankly, the industry owes you this platform." The opportunity was everything I'd once dreamed of. Creative control, industry respect, resources to develop my vision. Yet, I hesitated. "I've been working alone for so long," I admitted. "I'm not sure I trust the industry anymore." "Understandable," Catherine replied. "Start as a consulting designer. See how it feels. We'll build from there." Lauren encouraged me to accept. "You've protected your work in isolation for years. Now it's time to share it with the world, on your terms, with your name attached." My first collection under the Visionary Designs partnership launched 6 months later. Titled Emergence, it featured patterns that revealed hidden elements when exposed to different light conditions, a metaphor for truth emerging from concealment. The technical innovations surpassed even my original butterfly collection, demonstrating 5 years of independent development. The industry response was overwhelming. "Morgan Thompson's debut collection proves why her work was worth stealing," wrote one influential critic. The technical mastery and emotional depth demonstrate a designer operating at a level few can approach. Throughout this professional resurrection, Noah remained a steady presence in my life. After the industry panel, his relationship with Amanda had fractured profoundly. Their arguments escalated until he asked to live with his father temporarily. "She still doesn't really get it," he told me during one of our regular calls. "She talks about being canceled and how people don't understand the nuances of creative development. There's never real acknowledgement of what she did to you." Noah eventually asked if he could spend weekends at my Vermont house, which had become my sanctuary despite my increasing work in New York. These visits evolved into a mentoring relationship as he developed his own interest in sustainable design. "I want to understand creation from the right perspective," he explained while helping me organize fabric samples. "Mom always focused on the end result. The acclaim, the status. You focus on the process, the impact, the meaning behind the work." By the time Noah turned 16, he had become my apprentice of sorts, learning the technical foundations of textile design while developing his own distinctive aesthetic. His school breaks were spent in my studio, absorbing knowledge I freely shared. The irony wasn't lost on me, teaching Amanda's son the skills she had stolen rather than earned. "Do you think you'll ever forgive her?" Noah asked one evening as we reviewed designs for my second collection. I considered the question carefully. Forgiveness is complicated. I don't harbor the consuming anger I once did. That was destroying me more than it hurt her. But forgetting? Pretending it never happened? I can't do that. "She asks about you sometimes," he admitted. "Not directly, but she follows your new work online. I think she regrets what she did, even if she can't admit it." Amanda and I remained estranged, communicating only through lawyers regarding industry matters that required resolution. Her career never recovered fully, though she maintained a smaller presence creating home goods for mid-market retailers, work that required no technical innovation. My own healing journey progressed in parallel with my professional resurrection. Weekly therapy sessions helped me process the betrayal and its aftermath. I learned to separate my identity from my work, to recognize that Amanda had stolen my designs, but not my creativity, the source of those designs. The theft forced me to become more deliberate, more present in my creative process. I explained to a group of design students during a guest lecture at Parsons. Documentation became meditation, each step acknowledged, witnessed, valued. This perspective resonated with young designers navigating an industry where ideas were constantly appropriated and originality was increasingly difficult to establish. I developed a foundation called Design Provenance that offered resources and legal support to emerging creators struggling to protect their work. "Your experience created something vital for the next generation," Catherine observed during the Foundation's launch event. "That's a powerful form of redemption." 3 years after the industry panel, my work received the Council of Fashion Designers Innovation Award, recognition I'd once dreamed of while working at Meridian. Standing at the podium, I saw Eleanor Winters seated in the audience, her expression unreadable. Creative vision doesn't exist in isolation, I said in my acceptance speech. It requires nurturing, protection, and above all, truth. Every design tells a story, not just in its aesthetic, but in its journey from concept to reality. Tonight, I'm grateful that my story can finally be told accurately. Afterward, Eleanor approached me hesitantly. Your work has evolved beautifully, she said, studying me with new eyes. I should have listened more carefully 5 years ago. Yes, you should have, I replied simply. She nodded, accepting the gentle rebuke. For what it's worth, I am sorry, Morgan. Those words didn't erase the past, but they closed a chapter that had remained painfully open. The most meaningful recognition came not from industry accolades, but from Noah's decision to apply to design school, listing me as his primary influence and mentor. His portfolio included original concepts that honored my technical approach while expressing his unique perspective. I want to build something authentic, he told me when he received his acceptance letter. Something I can be proud of, that actually belongs to me. On the 5th anniversary of the industry panel, I stood in my sunlit studio at Visionary Designs, surrounded by the team I'd carefully assembled. My upcoming collection lay in organized sections across multiple tables, a complete vision ready for production. My phone chimed with a message from Noah, now a promising first-year design student. 5 years since the truth came out. Proud of where you are now. I smiled, reflecting on the journey from coffee shop barista to acclaimed designer, from victim to survivor to mentor. The path had been neither straight nor easy, but it had led to something authentic and earned. That evening, I added the final entry to the journal I'd maintained since the theft, a practice that had evolved from desperate documentation to thoughtful reflection. I wrote about truth's persistence, about creativity's resilience, about how sometimes losing everything forces you to rebuild with greater intention. The butterfly collection that Amanda had stolen remained part of my history, but it no longer defined my future. My work now spoke with a voice that was unmistakably, verifiably mine. So, what about you? Have you ever had someone take credit for your work or ideas? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this tale of betrayal, perseverance, and ultimate vindication resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with others who might need to hear that sometimes, even when the path seems impossibly dark, truth finds its way to the light. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, document everything and stay true to your authentic creative voice, no matter what challenges you face.